Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Manny. How you doing, Manny? How's Jeremy doing? Lloyd's with us. Richard Dunlop's in the house. And I will have to say congratulations to Richard Dunlop, who guessed just below the 13.8 pound bass. That was the skill testing question that we had last live. 13.5 is what you guessed, Richard. You were 0.3 away. You are the closest, and you will win the Tim Hortons cup. It's just a card with some free coffee or donuts or whatever you like. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Victoria long weekend. It is, yes, Gary, happy Victoria Day indeed. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. This weather, last couple anyway, Saturday and Sunday have been phenomenal here. Saturday wasn't the greatest. We were out with the CSFL. They had their annual Lunker Bowl. It was a pike tournament. We ran in tandem with their Lunker Bowl with the OFC Nation Charity Cup tournament. Yeah, it was beautiful. Balsam Lake. It would have been an absolute fantastic day of fishing had it not rained. But the anglers made the most of it. Those who organized the event made the most of it. No one seemed to go away without something. And there were a lot of good stories, lots of laughs. So it all in all was a great tournament. And big shout out, thank you to, of course, the Pilata family and the CSFL group that helped out in a big way to help organize that event. And it sounds like it was a success enough that Andy would like to maybe tinker with the idea at some of their other stops, if you will. So stay tuned to that. Lots more opportunities. Of course, we can't say enough about all those who donated prizes. Pro Jays, Kyle Carruthers, CanCast, Shimano stepped up in a huge way. There was just a lot of stuff. Rod Glove, X-Zone, some great prizes that were there to be won. And I know if Moose were here, he'd want to share the sentiments of that. But needless to say, great event. Looking forward to more events like that in the coming days, coming months, coming years. So stay tuned. Jeremy, you were missed. We would love to have seen you there. It was awesome. Steve actually fished it. I don't know how much he liked it, but Steve fished it. He was nice and wet by the time he got to the dock. But needless to say, it was a good time. Everybody had a few laughs, and you didn't go away empty-handed or with an empty stomach. It was an all-around great event. Also, we have Big Jim is on the show tonight. Of course, Jason Barnucz is as well. The only one that isn't is Lawrence, who's spending time with his 87-year-old mother. We want to wish Lawrence and the entire family, Gunzer family, a great Victoria Day long weekend, and hope it's a great time with family, because it always is. Anytime family gets together is a good time. Of course, it would not be a CFN Live without mentioning the various retreats that we have. Our 5th annual retreat up at Horwood Lake Lodge is, of course, in August. We'd like to see your butt booked in a bed. So please reach out to Warren and Doris up at Horwood Lake Lodge. And if you need something, we always share a teaser. So have a look. August 14th to the 19th this year. We'd love to see you there. All you got to do is phone Warren and Doris at Horwood Lake Lodge. Book your butt in a bed. And if you can't make it that weekend, or I should say that week, perhaps maybe you can make it this weekend, which is the 22nd to the 24th in September at Camp Macintosh.
Where are you going, Don?
Camp Macintosh.
Yeah, baby.
That's all the announcements I have. Big Jim is up next, right after a word from our sponsor. Big Jim McLaughlin in the house.
What's going on, buddy?
Always a pleasure to see you, man. I'll tell you, it just made my weekend seeing your smiley face show up, dude. Makes my Mondays. And it's Victoria Day long weekend. It is Monday. It is CFN Live. And that is, of course, the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin. Jim, I hate to do this. We're in a good mood. We're starting off on a good foot, but unfortunately, we have some sad news to share if folks in the industry have not heard. Unfortunately, we lost a Butte, Jim. We
lost our buddy Will Wegman. A lot of people didn't know that he was sick. He had cancer, and he's just an awesome guy. But it's one of those things. It's been 16 months that he's been at that, and it's just been killing him the whole time. So it's one of those things. You look at it, and I love these pictures. You look at it, and you say to yourself, he's not suffering anymore, and that's the whole deal.
And then, yeah, absolutely. Anybody that knows anyone that has suffered with cancer, it is.
How small a perch look when I'm holding them.
I say the same thing when I'm
not fair.
No kidding.
Guy hold up a 5-pound largemouth bass, and guy say, "Is that a keeper?"
It's funny. I have the same problem, Jim. We could probably spend the whole night talking about that. No, he's, as I said, everybody has done. Yeah, everybody who has been in the industry knows about Will, has heard about the work that he has done. Helped get muskies restocked back into the lower part of Lake Simcoe. Was huge on that. There was a whole bunch of stuff that Will has done. So
he really had it. He was in it, as far as he could be. He made a living in the from his work with the ministry and that. But he loved fishing. He loved every part of it. He was very active at it. He was one of those guys that was always willing to take time to teach somebody something. He was. It's just really a shame. It's it was very funny because I talked to his wife on Saturday. Well, I texted with her on Saturday morning, and she said, Jim, she says Will's not very well, and we don't think he'll make it through the weekend. And I thought, oh my God, it's here. It's time. And he, for some reason, I brought my phone in the bedroom, and if I do, I always plug it in, then turn it off, so doesn't try to come back on when you plug it in. And for some reason, I didn't. I left it just sitting on top of a pair of shorts on the dresser. And during the night, I got up to go to the little boy's room, and I was looking at it, and I saw a flash because it was face down. And I picked it up, and I saw Loretta's. I saw it was from Will Wegman because she had been answering on his phone, and I knew what it was. And I sat down on the side of the bed, and I read it, and it was, she told me he had passed at 11:20. And just a sad day, It's one thing that we're all sure of. We're all going that direction, It's the only thing when you're born you're sure of. And don't say taxes, because I know guys that don't pay it.
This is true. Yeah, it's very true. But yeah, it was just said, a man that has had his head in a lot of great things that have gone on in a lot of our waterways, a lot of the initiatives that went on that the MNR have spearheaded. Will was always at the center of them. He was a very private man. I found him to be very quiet,
Yes.
Extremely approachable, and I'm not the least bit surprised that this has been a secret for most of us for so long. Because
nobody knew he had cancer.
Yeah,
very, very few people, and the ones that did know, we respected it and kept it that way because he chose not to share it, and it's what it is. So,
wow.
He's like I said when I posted about it. I told him, I said, just be sure you get a spot with largemouths in it, and don't sting them all before I get there.
Now, Jim, you as I said, we unfortunately remorse in this.
Yeah, I sent I sent a note, Scotty, to somebody that one of the guys at the HT, one of the owners.
Yeah,
Tom, and he left me a phone message. I saw it after you went away from me here. I checked my phone just before we started, and I listened to it quick. And he was talking to me, and he thanked me very much for getting in touch with him and said, I got to talk to you soon or whatever. And you could just tell he became emotional. And he said, Jim, I'll talk to you later. I got to go, buddy. Thank you so much for letting me know.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know. And we'll have a chat tomorrow or Wednesday. Oh, wait, yeah, that's right. Today's Monday, so yeah, probably Wednesday or so because I'm busy tomorrow. But yeah,
busy in a great way, and I really appreciated you offering a spot. I unfortunately can't make it happen, but tell us what you're doing tomorrow.
I'm gonna go. We're gonna go fishing. I'm gonna do something I haven't done for a long time. We're gonna go fishing in the Bay of Quinte, not out in the bay, in the bay. And I'm going with Captain Greg Emile, and he's absolutely leveling them right now. He said to me, it's ridiculous. He said he takes guys out and they meet at 6 and at 10 he's packing them out because they've got their limits. Their arms are sore and they're going home. Right? It's really cool. He said they're getting them all on harnesses right now, which they cover. They're doing a lot of shallow water trolling over the new weeds, which is that's one of the main patterns, and that small crankbaits. So I got some of the new Shimano Embers backed up there, the little shad baits.
Yeah,
they're kind of sweet looking. I think they'll get jumped big time. I sent a picture to him too, and he sent back the drooling icon. So yeah, they'll work. It's they'll definitely get chewed up tomorrow a good bit. Now I'm gonna get a lot of it. I got Luke coming with me, the guy that's the limestone angler. And he's going to set up a couple of GoPros there and shoot a few photos and whatever else. He's all excited. He's never been on a real live walleye charter like that, so he'll appreciate it.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it is that time of year. Folks are booking charters. They are becoming popular, as you see. A lot of charter captains are saying, yeah, they're booked. It depends on the species of fish. Some charters can be better than others, depending on what they have to offer, how into detail they go to make sure that their clients have
Well, Greg moves around tremendously too.
Yeah.
Like he was fishing, he was guiding crappies 2 weeks ago, and now he's in the Bay of Quinte, shortly he'll be over around Toronto for the salmon and that out in front of Toronto and all down toward Hamilton and everything. He'll be right on top of it. I sent a buddy of mine out there with his grandkids last year, Terry Kingsbury, really good guy. I've known him for like 35 years, and he brought his grandkids out. And at 8 a.m. they had 16 fish in the boat.
Jeez.
They started at sun up. That was a little later on, so sun up would be probably 4:45, 4:30 almost. But 16 fish in the boat, and the boys had never caught a salmon or anything. They just about got jerked out of the back of the boat. They were just having a hoot.
That's awesome.
I think they ended up with 27, and they left at noon.
Unreal.
That's a lot of big fish.
Oh, absolutely. That's what she's famous for. The beloved Bay of Quinte. If you're lucky, Jim, you might get interviewed by the Creel crew working on the Bay of Quinte.
Always tell the truth, George.
Yes. So that's awesome. That's a great opportunity. That's awesome to hear that.
That's why I'm not in jail.
Is it by coincidence or circumstance that you're going to be there on the same day they are, Jim?
They've heard.
They heard you were coming. They knew they would get fish.
It ain't me. I'm with the captain.
Well, now we're blaming the captain.
I'm just the winder.
Well, I tell you,
So I've got a buddy of mine, and he doesn't. I don't think actually Gary owns a fishing rod. Maybe he's got a spin cast on the dock with a wacky worm on it at his cottage or something. And he'll go out with guides. Like he gets the best guys. Like, I mean, guys that are paying the mortgage, and guys that are doing it for a living, And he'll come back about two things about what a great fisherman I am. Here I am with my 12-pound walleye, whatever else, and he just.
That's hilarious.
And all his family's on there all the time. Oh, Gary, you're such a great fisherman. You should go fishing tournaments and everything. It's just priceless.
Wow.
But it's fun. That's what it's all about.
Yes. And so at the OFC Nation retreat, I had made a promise to Moose, and I don't remember it. We may have been partaking in a few beverages at the time, not really sure.
Uh-oh.
But needless to say, I signed myself up for the Canada-U.S. Walleye tournament that's coming up this weekend. And I'm excited, but I'm also expecting to have my hat handed to me. So it's an anxious feeling of excitement.
Well, either throw a small crankbait or a jig, buddy.
Okay, just one sec while I write that down. Yeah. Okay. Any particular color, Jim? No, I'm kidding.
Black. And it has to say Big Jim's at the top. No. That was the guy posted last week, said he went to Rice Lake and got skunked on the opening day, and I says, hey, you needed my jigs. So he sent me. He made a post and he put up a picture of my jig, And I said to him, I said, you're supposed to take it out of the package, because he had it still in the package. I don't think he ever used it. He didn't realize that. No, I bought a whole bunch. No, you didn't. Show me the rest of them.
Wow.
We were joking forever with him.
So this time of year, when it comes to hair jigs, this is the time of year that you would want to use hair jigs as your. Yeah,
hair jigs are all year, buddy.
They're all year, so it doesn't matter.
There's just like they used to tell you when you went to Florida that you couldn't catch bass with a flipping jig. That's my best thing ever. When we started going there, and of course they didn't catch them with them because nobody used them. Just like pike lose their teeth in the summer or muskies lose their teeth. That's why you can't catch them. Well, it's because you're fishing in the same spot that they spawned in or that they lived in June. They don't live there anymore. They're gone. You don't make up excuses. Learn how to catch them.
Yeah, no, 100%. The jigs with the spoon, that flutter spoon underneath. That's something I got to pick up this week.
Oh, the spinner bellies, yeah.
Don't have too many of those. Obviously, some drop shot hooks, some weights.
Actually, I was playing around this week. I tried a lot of jigs, but every once in a while I take a break. Ouch. Stupid PMC hooks. Every once in a while I take a break, and I made up some of these, and you can see the size of them.
Wow.
They're absolutely huge. That's a spinnerbait blade. That's an 1.5 ounce jig.
Wow.
And Another one
Wow.
here. It's funny how that shows up as yellow there, but it's like green chartreuse.
Are you serious? Because
Yeah.
yeah, that is like
Looks just like yellow.
totally
That
yellow.
is absolutely green.
Wow,
Weird, eh?
interesting. Now
But that
those,
that type of stuff can work well too. In fact, what's his name from True North Baits there, Jamie? He posted a whole bunch of pictures. He caught the heck out of them on opening day in Rice Lake using those.
yeah,
It's, and plus, like I said, last year in Gagnon, they sold, I think, over 200 of them that I put in.
incredible.
And, guys didn't come back to buy them because they weren't catching fish.
Yeah,
I
true
love
enough.
the way everybody, it's secret too. I didn't want to tell anybody. Oh yeah, get them on a jig. You mean the one with the spinner on the belly? Well, sometimes you can tell they're lying right away.
Sometimes, yeah.
I love it.
It's funny, Maddie. Yeah, I remember. I believe 4 years ago, you told me use orange and black hair jigs. I will never forget that. Well, you know what? I can honestly say that tandem, orange and black with the orange belly, killer. It's a
One of the top 10 sellers ever for me.
Yeah. Orange and black, and the other one is black and yellow. I can't say enough about black and yellow. Love black and yellow. So yeah,
So a lot of black and yellows into Rice Lake.
yeah,
Like
that's
the individuals,
yeah.
like they phone you once a year and they buy like 35 black yellow 3/8 ounce jigs. That's all that they buy, and they go out and they have days where they don't catch any fish, but it's there's nothing worse than getting stuck using one thing. Like you always hear me out about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst thing in the world.
What I'm looking forward to, Jim, actually, is not only spending some time with our good buddy Moose, but he has the electronics, and it's not something that I have a great deal of in my boat. So I'm really interested to see the live how it works. I'm just looking forward to the time on the water. But needless to say, there's a few things that I am going to enjoy, which is watch that live scope. Any other things that you could advise me of, Jim, before I go and make a complete fool of myself?
Maybe try a rattle bait. Nothing wrong with a rattle bait.
Yeah, why not? Sure, 100%.
Rattle baits are big time, but this time of the year, that shallower water, especially with it being a little bit late. But down the back here,
Yeah,
it's already, you could go fish a frog if you want.
is that right?
It's just absolutely horrid. It's worse than last year.
Wow.
Like it's last year it got so bad you couldn't even fish a frog because you'd just see all the weeds go like this when the fish tried to come and get it. They couldn't even get through all the crap on the top. That's why I spent half the time with an 1.5 ounce sinker, throwing it up 15, 20 feet in the air to get it to go through when it went down. You'd get it in a hole and you'd just shake it for about 2 minutes. And you'd be shaking it for 2 minutes and all of a sudden, boom, she'd load up. One would come and find it because they heard it bouncing around down there, right? They're still there. You just have to do different things to get them. But like I said, you can't beat this time of the year for the new weed. It's nowhere near the top in most places yet, especially down there. It's I know it's a couple of guys I know that fish there a lot told me that last week there. I mean, in the morning here we had a 1/4 inch of frost on the roof of the house a couple of mornings.
Yeah.
The truck was all white outside, and it's really cool because this time of the year, the sun will come around the garage and like half the truck's dry and half of it's still frozen. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was as I said, it was it was a walleye type day on Balsam on Saturday. I know you had given us a shout out, really appreciated that, Jim. But it was a tough day of fishing, not just because of the fish, it was the weather. Yes, we can dress for it, but you can't dress for 8 hours of solid rain.
No, that I've done that a few times when I fished in tournaments. Probably I don't know 8, 10 times, maybe in the 10 years. It would be at least one day a year where, like, it rained all day, just pounded down on you. You were soaking wet to the bone.
Yeah.
I remember we used to put plastic bags over our shoes,
Yeah.
tape them around our ankles, and then cut the bottom out so you had the sole on the carpet, but the water ran off the plastic because you didn't want plastic on the bottom because it would slide on the carpet and you'd be out of the boat, right?
Right.
So, but we have to, things like that just to keep your feet dry because it's no fun having wet feet for 6 hours.
No, and it was a struggle, but there was a bunch of fish caught. I believe it was the boat that had Mark Hunter, Sean McCall, and Kyle Carruthers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they had the biggest pike. But what was the coolest prize of the day was the best net man, and from all the tales and all the stories, and they were well entertaining. Kyle, hands down, was the best net man at that event. So yeah, it was a good time, really good time. What else can we talk about, Jim?
We got a couple of weekends. We got the kids deal coming up here.
Yes, that's right. That's right. What exact day is that again?
June 3rd, Saturday, June 3rd.
June 3rd. So we will be up at Sealy's Bay for another great kids event. If it's anything like
showing big time rain right now, like for the whole weekend, like 30 millimeters a day. So I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I hope it's a different forecaster that forecasted rain for Saturday.
2 weeks, it'll all change.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll all change.
Like
it was showing it tomorrow with Greg 4 or 5 days ago. It was showing tomorrow dead calm.
Yeah.
Now it's like 15 with gusts at 22 or something. So that's better than dead calm at the Bay of Quinte for trolling for walleyes.
Yeah, it's not coming from the east, I hope.
A little bit southeast. So
okay, southeast.
I don't worry so much about these. This is 3 days in a row now. The wind's been blowing. It's been a cold front.
Yeah.
So it's coming out of it now, and the rest of the week's all sunny and it warms up. So
right on.
Should be good.
Okay, Jim. Listen, you have yourself a great day out on the water. Really look forward to seeing the video, the pics.
Watch, I'll put some stuff up as I go.
The best, buddy. Really appreciate that. All right, dude. Have yourself a good one.
Fish, everybody.
Right on, buddy. All the best. And here comes Jay Barnucz right after a word from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
Jay Barnucz is in the house.
Hey, Scotty.
And you've been busy. You folks, you lads have been out on the water, man, I'll tell you. And it has been fun to watch. It's been fun to see what you folks get up to. But you had a couple species that looked CFN fish off worthy of entry.
Yeah, we had some definitely CFN fish off quality fish this weekend. If we were fishing the fish off.
if we were fishing the fish off. Wow.
So,
everybody just go, are you kidding me? Seriously? Yeah. You're not in it? Wow.
And I even joked that after the weekend that we had, so we caught 10 different species on Saturday. And I'm going to say almost all of them would have measured over 8. And some of them were like, some of those big suckers were, 20, 22, 25-inch fish. And under some of the new formats, there's some prize winning fish in that collection. But middle of because bass season opens earlier this year, right? Because of the way Saturdays fall in June, and the Kayak Bassmasters and the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail, their bass opening weekend, we're talking middle of June. So between that and events you want to do and high school exams, and dude, my work schedule's right. We're running wide open right now. That's why, geez, I haven't even been here for 2 weeks. Like
it is. I was just going to say you have been busy, and you know what? Absolutely, we'll take you when we can get you. But it's always an honor to have you here. And I do know we did start off on a sad note. I know you knew the man as well, Will Wegman. Tell us a good Will Wegman story.
Oh man, so I've known Will pretty much for 20 years. When I joined the Ontario Bass Nation in 1993, 2003. Geez, not that far back, but 2003. Actually, I joined my first bass club in Kitchener, and one of the first guys I met was Will. And I knew of Will before then because of his writing. And I got to know Will not just through fishing, but professionally too. He was a information management officer at the Ministry of Natural Resources. And a lot of people might not understand what that means, but what that means for us is Will wasn't a biologist, wasn't a technician, worked with lots of biologists and technicians. Will was the one who made sure the information that was being collected from the ministry was getting out to the public. So if there needed to be a press release done for, and so much that goes on in the ministry, fish and wildlife section, but where Will's heart was promoting angling, especially in urban areas, like basically in the Golden Horseshoe. And Will was critical for promoting and helping groups get what they needed to get fishing out there to inner city folks. Worked a lot with local conservation authorities, and at the end of the day, Will was just a great guy. And I had actually just before COVID, one treasured memory I'll keep with me, and get a little choked up here. So when we went to the Bassmasters Classic in 2020, right before COVID, Trevor and I went down. Will was part of our sort of Ontario group, and Will attended the conservation summit with us, and Will sat with Trevor and I, and and we shared our sort of wishes and our dreams for what could happen with BASS and conservation in Ontario. And Will was so loved by so many people, far and wide. And I've actually been, I knew Will was, Jim hit it best. Will's a private guy, and you said it yourself, Scotty, very private person. I knew he had been sick. I reached out to a good friend of probably Will's best friend, Jerry Heels, at the ice fishing show last fall. And I said, Jerry, I don't want to ask. I just want to know, how's Will? And he kind of gave me an update. And a few days later, Will texted me, called me up. Hey, man, I'll give you the lowdown. Here's what's going on. And so I didn't bother him. And I haven't spoken with Will for a few months now, unfortunately, but he's a very private individual. And, guys fishing every day now for sure. And there's probably not someone out there who doesn't enjoy fishing or didn't enjoy fishing as much as Will Wegman. So, and for many levels. Geez, Scotty, I'm going to share some videos with you. And there's one I found of Will. I'm not going to share it tonight, but it was called Will Wegman Ask an Expert. And the Ministry of Natural Resources did this video of him 2 or 3 years ago. And he went through what he does for his job. And in the ministry, he was involved with, because of his background in media, he was involved with muskie stocking in Lake Simcoe. And not just like the stocking of itself, but he was helping to trap net breeding fish from Georgian Bay and Gloucester Pool. And he was involved in stocking Chinook salmon into the Credit River. He was involved with Keep Canada Fishing and all, that whole side of it, and trade shows and sports shows. And, all of his work to promote Lake Simcoe and ice fishing. Like, he had his hand in so many pieces, and and then far and wide beyond, he'd be the media guy for some of our leading publications to go to the Bassmasters Classic, and he did ride-alongs with Gussie and others. Like, just a real icon of the industry. And it's tough loss. Very tough.
Absolutely. Yeah, tough loss indeed. And, for all of us who Will has touched and helped, we can't thank you enough for you just being the way you were and the way you will be remembered. Someone that was very approachable, someone that never had something to prove, never walked around with a chip on his shoulder or his nose in the air.
No.
But he was a private man, and it was tough knowing Will for as long as I have and not being able to reach out in a way that would expose me knowing. I wasn't part of his inner circle, and I didn't want to feel as if I was overstepping that. Even though we've had some great times together, I wanted to respect him in his time. So,
yeah, and he, but Scotty, he touched all of us, even if you didn't know him personally.
Yeah,
everything he did touched all of us, right?
100%.
So, that's and I think, the legacy of Will is going to be a lot of us who love to promote the industry and do things in the industry, do it the way Will did it. Will, Will did everything with glass half full. Everything was positive. Everyone loved him. So I think if anyone's going to, his legacy should just be that, is just to keep doing positive things, like what CFN's does all the time, push that positivity and promote angling. you know, and I think that'll be Will's legacy for sure. So yeah, dude, I could go on for days about Will Wegman, but and there's going to be some great stuff coming. I know on Twitter, Patrick Walsh from Outdoor Canada, he's got plans to do like a big tribute to Will Wegman. There's going to be some great content coming out in the next little while, and I think it's going to be needed to help a lot of folks, you know, get through this time for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, the unfortunate thing is for some, it is a shock because if you didn't know he was struggling with cancer, this would come as a big shock. And still a young man, you know.
Yeah.
As I said, very very respected, very revered. Certainly had a hand in my success and some of the stuff that I've been doing with walleye. So again, I can't thank him enough, and I'm sure there's so many others out there that feel the exact same way. So Will, thanks for all you've done, man. And,
you know, it's funny too, Scotty. I think about this sometimes, and the way the world is now with social media, where we're all so interconnected now and have been for a long time. So when we lose people like Will, and this is life. There's going to be others who are going to leave us, and we are all so touched by some of these people now because media has allowed us to do that. And I'm not bitching. I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing that's allowed us to interact with, you know, some of these icons of the sport. And I think that this is just one that's really going to hit home. But a lot of that's because we all who knew Will, there's so many of us that knew him because of, you know, how he impacted so many of us in different ways. Just a very, very well-known guy. So yeah. And probably one of the best ice anglers I ever met, if I get to put it out there. He was great at bass fishing, but boy, he was a fanatical ice angler. Fanatical. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. He always knew something about fish, and it didn't matter what species, what you were talking about. He didn't flaunt his knowledge. It was anyway, he was, again, someone that if you're going to model yourself after in the industry, he is definitely a good choice. One of the better. I
agree.
I would say. And yes, he will be missed. Now, the fact that you and the lads have been out fishing. Tell us some of the things that have been working.
Well, you know, so this past weekend, this was a long weekend for us, and the weather was actually, pretty miserable Saturday morning. Yeah. But down here in the south, that front passed through by noon. It was nice, and and we got a bit of rain with it, which was good. And you know what we targeted this weekend was red horse suckers. And if anyone follows some of our fishing adventures, and if you're a CFNer, a fish off person, you know the value of a red horse sucker. Like they are a big sucker species. They're great to target in the spring. Not the easiest ones to catch. I'm not bragging, but we've and there's been days where we've struggled to catch them. But this past weekend, we've been working on a pattern where we actually sight fish them, Scotty. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. What we do is we actually love this time of year when the rivers have dropped and they've cleared up and the red horse have gathered into basically spawning groups at riffles, and you see them. And what we do is we sneak up on them, same as you would do like sneaking up on a steelhead or on a brown trout.
Yeah.
And the gear we use, it's kind of fun. So we're using a 7-foot, maybe a 7.5-foot rod, usually a light action, even an ultra light action, 10-pound braid with like a 6-pound or 8-pound fluoro leader, half a worm on like a number 8 hook, number 6 hook, and a little split shot. And what we do, Scotty, is we lay low in the grass, like I'm not even joking, or we kind of hide at a bridge or at a culvert and we kind of see them, and we cast to them, above them, without spooking them. And they'll what the red horses do, they're like cows, they graze, and so these big red horses will kind of move up in the water. You'll see them as they get to here, I'll show you on like a mouse. So that's a rock. A big red horse will come up and take their lips and like suck some of the algae off the rock, and they turn, and you'll see little puffs of dirt. Sometimes those fish are so camouflaged when you're looking down on them from a bridge, I can't quite see them, but I'll see little tufts of little clouds of sand And that's them feeding. They're grazing on invertebrates, small insects on the basically on the cobble in the river. And that's how we find them. And then what we'll do is, if you can't quite cast to them where they are, one of us might be up on the bridge, like coaching, like little further out, little over here, little over there. And it's a total team effort to catch these things. And so
that is cool.
You can't do it by yourself to be effective, to be honest, because when you're at river level and you're at the water's edge, I'm looking out, I can't see those big red horse, but someone on the bridge can see them. So literally, and this is kind of why Trevor and I did enter the fish off. That was one reason, because some of these fish that we target, Scotty, in these places, it's a team effort. Like I can't catch them without him and vice versa. Like it's a total team effort. Sometimes we actually hook them from the bridge, and then someone's down below with the net to secure the fish, and then we come down for the picture. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
This is so those pictures we put up with Owen Brock, Trevor's great fishing buddy, kayak buddy. Owen's never caught red horse before, and this weekend he caught all 4 species that there's 6 in Ontario, but there's 2 at risk, and the 2 boys caught 4. We called it the Grand Slam. So it took us 400 kilometers of fuel to cover all the areas, and I won't hide it. We fished the Nith River, which is a big tributary of the Grand, which flows into the Grand at Paris. We fished the upper Nith River, and then we fished the Osable River over by kind of south of Exeter and like north of Port Franks, kind of in that Elsa Craig kind of. That's where we caught all the red horse, and we visited a bunch of bridges and scouted them, and we didn't catch them all at one bridge. It was kind of we literally, Scott, you pull up to a bridge, you look around, and you just look for the red horse, and if they're there, they're there. If they're not, we go to the next bridge, and it was that kind of a thing all day. And to top it off, in between red horsing, we drove through like some headwaters of the Thames. So we hit 4 watersheds in one day, by the way. We hit some headwater of the Thames, and we caught some brook trout while we were red horsing. Jeez. And then on the way home, I pulled off in a brown trout creek that I know of, and we caught a brown trout to end off our day. So we caught red horses, brown trout, brook trout, creek chub. It was 10 species anyways in one day. It's fun, man. Fun day.
Well, it's unfortunate because yes, the rules there's a gray area there in regards to helping other anglers, but I would argue the fact that what's the difference between having a portable fish finder or someone scouting out fish above you?
It's true, man. Like, and it's honestly now traditional sucker fishing. What we've done in the past is you plop your bait out in the river, you put your rod in a holder, sit in your chair. I'll sit on my phone and, go through CFN fish off page and see what everyone else is catching while I wait for a bite.
Yeah. Now
we don't wait for bites. It's all interactive. Like you're on the go. I think I put like 6,000 or 7,000 steps on in my waders yesterday. And that was just up and down bridges and trails, like in my waders yesterday. Like I was laughing about it. So
that's amazing.
It was a ton of fun. And this is a great way to pass the time while we're waiting for some seasons to open. So for example, like this long weekend, Scotty, down here, the ramps are busy, swamped with people going out which is exciting.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie, and don't take this the wrong way. I'm not a big people person when it comes to crowds and fishing. I kind of like to do my own thing. I think that's why I've really taken to kayak fishing so much. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to wait in line at the boat ramps. I'm happy everyone got out and got I see lots of great yellow perch being caught and northern pike being caught. 'Tis the season. Like everyone had a good time. But when we're doing this kind of stuff, we have the place to ourselves. There's no one else around. No one wants to go sucker fishing. There was a couple farmers that pulled up on the bridge and they're like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're catching suckers." And you get a couple looks. Yeah. But some of these suckers are over 2 feet long and weigh like 7 or 8 pounds, right? So they're Sully. So some of these big red horse suckers, and go hop on the Canadian Fishing Network page. And we did the guys did a great edit of a greater red horse that we caught. Yeah. And I know the fish is closer to the camera than it appears. And I might get called out on this because it looks bigger than that fish is. That fish is probably about 7 or 8 pounds. But, you know, and I hear people complain about, you know, when you hold your fish out, Scotty, my philosophy is show that fish off. Show that fish off. That is when someone's got a beautiful specimen, show it off. And I remember Matt, Michael Sylvia, remember, does a lot of ice fishing on Lake Simcoe.
Yeah.
I remember he took some shit one night from a guy because he was holding a burbot out, like making it look bigger than it was. And I'm not one to get into a Facebook fight with somebody, but I got on the comments and I'm like, dude, you show that fish off. That is a big, beautiful burbot, and you show that fish off.
I think I remember that.
We should all do that, man. Like if I catch a big crappie, I'm going to hold it out like this. I want you to see that crappie. Right? You're the same way, Scotty. You catch a beautiful walleye, I'm showing it
isn't proud of what they've caught. I mean, big or small, we love them all, man. Absolutely. You should be proud of it. Like, listen, think of the work that you just described, the work that went into it. What I mean, anyway, that's the beautiful thing about the fish off is some people, it just takes people out of their comfort zone. It gets them out of that box, if you will, where it allows them to do cool videos, to do, you know, hashtags and all that kind of stuff. But like you said, show off your fish. Show off.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, I love all the stories coming out. Like, I'm just reading the comments here. Like, Todd Nechtel. Todd was on the crappie fishing this weekend, Long Point. Perfect. I think that a lot of our Lake Erie crappie are just about done. They're kind of on that post spawn. They're going to start moving out. But we've had some cool nights. We've had some nice weather recently, but some cool nights. It's slowed them down. And so this is probably the last weekend to get on them. There, Alex Dalby, buddy of mine, got up north, got some great walleye. Good, man, that's awesome. Good.
87 walleye in 2 days. Well done. Well done.
Yeah. You know, I want to give a shout out actually to the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail while I get a moment. They had their first event this weekend because I saw George's name pop up here. I had to mention it. So bass season's open now in Lake Nipissing. It's the first time they've opened it for the first time this year, this in the early season. And the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail had an event on Lake Nipissing in that awful weather. God, Scotty, like they must have been drowned rats out there in kayaks.
I can't imagine.
But someone always catches them, and the winner caught 90 inches, and that's like an 18.5-inch average. That's fantastic.
That is
like,
big.
You know, so kudos to those guys. And not everyone caught a lot of fish. There's a lot of sad faces, and I shouldn't say sad faces, but wet faces up there. And it was great to see everyone get out this weekend. And you know, the bass kayak scene is kicking off right now. I was talking with, I see Jay Pierce in the chat, good friends with Jay and his wife Lynn. They were out smashing the walleyes this weekend up in I believe they were on Lake St. Clair or the St. Clair River. Like, that's fantastic. Everyone's out catching fish, man. This weekend, even up on Balsam, I saw the fish they were catching.
Yeah.
And
it was actually interesting, Jay, that the pike that they caught, there was a couple that were really healthy fish.
Yeah.
The majority of them were all very slender, very slim fish.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's post spawn. The water temperature isn't exactly, having them put those feed bags on just yet. I wouldn't say it was a slow bite, but you know, for that kind of day, and as I said, the inclement weather that the participants had to battle, any fish caught was a gem. And but there was enough. It was a successful event based on the number of fish caught, and I believe the winner was just under 9 pounds. So healthy fish.
Yeah, that's great. Like, you know, and actually some of the best pike fishing I've had has been on rainy days like that, man. Like, you know, I've gone, you know, in the summertime, go bass fishing on those rainy days, and I catch way more pike than I catch smallmouth or largemouth. Like those snot rockets love that wet weather, you know? So yeah. And I actually, you know, even when I was out and about on Saturday, we didn't do much fishing on Saturday. So I have to live vicariously through Facebook and Instagram because I'm supposed to be doing like going to the neighbors for a barbecue, which I did. Thanks very much, Val and Tony, by the way. Great barbecue. Right. I might have been checking in on the Balsam Lake goings-ons. Saw some great fish being weighed in. Saw some wet friends of ours. Great stuff, man. It's a solid weekend of fishing across Ontario. I really got to say.
And it really was. No matter what day you picked, no matter how bad the weather was, it was a solid day. It was probably slow. Water temperatures are still, slowly creeping up. What was really interesting was to hear the number of walleye that were caught shallow on Balsam. Yeah, 7-8 feet. Some as shallow as 5 and 6. Which just again is indicative of that time of year and water temperatures. Yes, those fish are definitely going to be shallow.
What were the temps up on Balsam? Do you know?
Yeah, I think we started the day at around 50. Was it 52, 53?
Yep.
And after the rain had stopped, I think it got up as high as 55, 56.
So those walleye are post spawn, right? And they're just post spawn though. Like that is. Like just post spawn, so they're probably up looking for a meal. Whatever's up shallow this time of year, that's probably what they're looking for right now. Whether that be they're probably they're probably targeting pre-spawn bluegill and pumpkin seed or even crappie. Like they're gonna look for that easy meal. And I say that because even this past weekend, I don't want to say I caught some out of season smallmouth, but they might have been caught on dew worms trying to catch suckers. But we actually saw 2 smallmouth already guarding nests this past weekend. Now, we don't know if they've spawned yet. They could have dug the nest waiting for a female to arrive, but clearly the male at 2 different spots was clearly guarding a red or a nest. And so, even with the cold weather we've had, things are getting going. So I wonder if those walleye are up feeding on some of those panfish that are either spawning or post spawning. That's pretty cool, man.
It is cool, which will make it interesting next weekend for the Canada US Walleye Tournament on Cameron, because if they aren't in their post spawn positions like they typically are, and they're still scattered and up shallow chasing bait fish or whatever other type species of fish, it's going to make it interesting for the anglers to try and find them.
Oh yeah, well, and Cameron is, I haven't spent a ton of time on Cameron Lake, but the fishing on Cameron it's always a little tougher than most of the Kawartha lakes, my opinion, and that's fine. I don't mind tough fishing, but it ain't no Balsam. Yeah. I'd rather fish sturgeon, which says a lot to me about Cameron, but. Yeah. Their fish are still there, man. And
sorry, I meant sturgeon. Sorry, okay. I meant sturgeon, Jay.
I was
Cameron. Yeah.
Oh, because that's better. Because I was going to say Cameron's a tough.
Cameron's ridiculously tough to find walleye.
Yeah.
Sturgeon's a lot easier, but it's typically 3 spots that hold them. But if they're not in these traditional spots yet, they're still up in the shallows and doing whatever.
Yeah, the weather this week, it's going to be up and down again, right? We're going to get to 25 tomorrow or Wednesday, but the nights are getting down to, like, even down here, like at night, we're getting down to like 1 degree, 3 degrees. Like, spring is coming. I guess we're into spring already, but that warm water is slow to hit us. Like because those cold nights keep pushing us down a bit. So there's a lot of transition going on right now, isn't there?
100%. Speaking of transition, Richard Dunlop shared a picture. Unfortunately, I didn't get it uploaded, but what it looked like was typical of what you would see if a walleye was absorbing its eggs.
Oh, I did see that picture.
Did you see that picture? Yeah. So
I did. And the first thing I thought of was I talked about it last year when I was up when we were lake trout fishing up in Algonquin. And we caught a big smallie on a lake where they're not supposed to be. So I did what I felt was the right thing and harvested that smallmouth. And sorry, George, don't get mad at me. Harvested a smallmouth because they're in a lake trout lake where they're not supposed to be. But that fish in early August had like what looked to me like eggs that were trying to be reabsorbed, eggs that were not spent. And it was like kind of nasty to see, honestly, but that's the only description I could think of what that was.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I would agree that the similar picture that was just shared in regards with the walleye is indicative of that. I have never had the opportunity of cutting open a walleye with that happening. So I'm only guessing, but I'm going to assume that that's exactly what we're witnessing.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reality is when people see that, they get concerned. But we all know this too. We've had conversation on this show. Not every fish spawns every year. And even fish that choose to spawn may not spawn, even though they've gone through the effort of creating sperm and eggs. Biology is a wonderful thing. There's no straight lines in biology, right? There's too many variables at play, and these things happen. And I think it's just one of those good examples too of social media. Like, we get to see these things kind of happening that we might see it happen, but we aren't sure what it is. But then we can have these great discussions, Scotty, about what that might be or might not be, right? So
100%. And I would say, from a social media standpoint, is it just me, or is there a ton of really big bass being caught lately?
There's a lot of big bass being caught.
Holy smokes!
There was another 9-pound smallmouth caught in northern Michigan recently. I forget his name. He's a guide from mostly out of Lake St. Clair, but in the spring he'll guide up on Lake Huron in northern Michigan, and his clients released a 9+ fish. I actually listened to a podcast last night on the way home fishing. Imagine that, listening to fishing podcasts in between going to fishing spots. Like, that's, dude, we had 14 hours of fishing, like literally 14 hours of nonstop fishing yesterday. There might have been a Barnucz. The Blue Jays were in there for a bit, but then they really shit the bed in the 10th inning, and that's it. The Blue Jays were back to fishing. But I'll tell you this. I was listening. It was Nick Kusevas talking, and Nick Kusevas is a well-known big smallmouth guy. If you don't know Nick on Instagram, go follow Nick Kusevas, Canadian guide, does a ton of work with Megabass. And he, in his interview, he talked about, in the past year, I think it was 10 fish over 7 pounds and 3 fish over 8, and one of those fish was pushing 9. And most of those are smallmouth out of Lake Ontario.
Wow.
Like, amazing. And I think that these big bass I think you're going to start to see it. Jim and I have talked about this before. 5s are becoming 6s, and 6s are becoming 7s. And, it's not going to be uncommon to see, you don't even bat an eye anymore to 6-pounder on Lake Erie.
Yeah.
It's got to be over 7 now to turn ahead,
100%.
to be what I would call a trophy, where it puts it above all the other fish. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Jay, that's some great advice that you are offering up here. Fish eat what fish eat, but I found that if I kept my lures up off bottom and moving fast, the walleye and pike feasted, while the smallies and largies tended to let it go by. I would kind of agree with that. I did see that up at a place that I know that I visit on the regular, and I will say that's what I was witnessing as well. The bass are definitely getting ready to do their thing. Walleye are active, but they're not coming into the shallows with those big bass, those big mean bass there protecting their nest. But so that transition, I'm going to assume, is going to happen very, very soon, if not already, where the walleye are going to now start to push out into those.
George has a great comment there you should highlight. I love George's insight into this kind of information. Looking at, we're seeing, climate change. It's happening. The lakes are warming up. Whether they're warming up naturally, or we could talk about human-induced climate change, that's another debate. But the lakes are getting warmer. Mm-hmm. We have data that tells us they're warming up every year, and we are entering the centrarchid era. So what's a centrarchid for everybody? Spiny rayed fish. So basically, and we're talking for centrarchids, we're talking not all spiny rayed fish, but we're going to focus on largemouth, smallmouth, black crappie, white crappie, all the lepomis, so all the sunfish species. The centrarchids are going to be king in some of these lakes as we go forward, and that's why we're seeing these giant smallmouth. And George hit it on the head. Smallmouth are just about, I think, the most well-adapted fish to both climate change and also invasive species. They've benefited from zebra mussels. They've benefited from round gobies. They are the king, and all we're going to see is bigger smallmouth.
And they are so hardy. The one thing you can't transport, and that's why when it comes to bass fishing, I'm so glad to hear that the science has gotten better and technology has picked up the live well, or at least the status of a live well, and they are so much better than they used to be. And it's good to hear that, because largemouth bass need a good live well in order to survive, whereas their counterparts, the smallies, I don't. They're like those guppies you buy at the pet store. Like literally, you could bake it in the sun, the water, and this guppy still lives. Smallies are very, very hardy fish.
Yeah, they're pretty hardy. I think though that with smallmouth, the biggest issue we have now, Scotty, is with smallmouth in bass tournaments is they're just getting too big for the bass boats. Like that's honestly what's happening, and you'll see with the Thousand Islands Open a few years ago, they went from 5 fish to 4 fish limits because Bruce Tuff's research has shown that we are literally, the bass boats aren't getting bigger, the live wells aren't getting bigger, but the fish are.
Yep.
And the only way that as an industry, or we can make sure they're released safely, is to reduce the number of fish. And that turns some heads because there's so many long-term records based on 5 fish limits. But I remind people that argue this with me is, back, it wasn't that long ago in the U.S. where there was 7 fish limits, 10 fish limits. Fish weren't even released. They were donated to the local food bank. That was only 30, 40 years ago in some places, right? We really come a long way. But those dang smallmouth, they're outgrowing the live wells. That's why they've reduced the limits. Either we got to get bigger live wells. Can you believe that, Scotty?
It's hard to believe just sitting here.
Bigger live wells for smallmouth.
Yeah, but you think about it, like you put 2 8, 9 pound smallies in a live well, where are you going to put the rest?
Yeah.
Like first, they're not going to be happy with one another, so they're going to have that. Anyway, we can go on and on, but yeah, I'm not surprised.
So George's point there too, like catch and release mantra around bass, because bass are so readily released, because that's kind of how it's a cultural shift in fishing, right? This is a human social shift in fishing where now all of us release bass, or not all of us, but a good majority of us. We should be eating some of them too. We really should, because in some lakes, and now every lake can be different, and this is what's challenging. We've talked about this, Scotty, where it's hard to manage lakes individually, but you want the best result for a certain lake, you should manage them individually, but we can't. But it's good to know out there that if you want to eat some bass in some places, you're not going to harm the bass population much, and you will actually improve potentially the walleye, muskie, and northern pike population as well. So, it's all in moderation. All in moderation, Scott.
And it's also about educating anglers. We recently on the Legacy Chat shared a YouTube snippet. I don't know if it was, the one that's on Discovery Channel where it's the long arm of the law, but it's all from natural resources up in Maine and Massachusetts. Yeah. I forget what this show is called, but anyway, it looked like a snippet from there where there was a young kid. Doesn't matter his ethnicity or what have you, but a younger kid, and he was out on this pier where the water was flowing down a river. Anyway, he's just fishing like anybody else, and they asked him, "Are you keeping any fish?" And of course, the kid says, "No, just my lunch in that." He says, "Yeah, but the bucket's moving, son. Like there's something in there." No, my lunch. Anyway, pulls the lid open. He's got what ends up being 15 smallmouth bass in the bucket. Yeah. So, we all shared our opinions of what we thought of the video. And what annoyed me was just the blatancy of the lie, and this is a young kid. It's different when we were young, Jay. I wouldn't have the balls to lie to somebody that was older than me, especially not if he was in a uniform, but just the balls that he showed and courage he displayed to just outright lie like that and owned it, like he owned. Anyway, we still have to educate is what I'm trying to get at. That education never stops. But it was awesome to see so many educated anglers, as I said, out on Balsam doing their thing for pike. And the beautiful thing was every single pike went back.
That's great. I've been watching some of Andy's spring tournaments. I watched the one over the weekend. I saw that. Did you see the freshwater drum that got weighed in at Quinney?
Yeah. And I believe there's a record to be set about that.
I haven't looked it up, but if that's not an Ontario record or Canadian record freshwater drum, it's close. That fish was 20, I think it was 26 pounds.
Yeah, 26 pounds.
Unbelievable drum.
Right, yeah. Unbelievable. Poor guy thought,
and it's great.
The walleye too, the biggest walleye in the Bay of Quinnion.
Yeah, and what a dude, we catch a lot of freshwater drum here in Lake Erie, but nothing comes close to that. I've seen them in the high teens here, but into the high 20s. Oh my God, what an awesome fish. Jeez. I want to catch that. I want to ride that thing. Never mind catch it. I want to ride that thing. That's like a Chinook salmon. That's like a 30-inch Chinook salmon, man. That's amazing. Yeah.
Fish that big, that old. I asked, did it have horns? You got to figure it had horns at that age. And that's
unbelievable, man. Yeah, I would ride that bull all day. Well, I made a joke about it with the boys yesterday, because if you've ever look up the pastime of mutton busting. So mutton busting is at rodeos. They take sheep, okay. And I might or might not have done this with my nephew, and there might or may not be a YouTube video of this out there somewhere. But what you do is you take a sheep and you hold on to the sheep, and they take a kid and put a bike helmet or a hockey helmet on the kid, and you set the kid on the sheep, and they hang on to the wool and let the sheep go, and it takes off, and the mutton busts off, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'd like to mutton bust that sheep head, man. That was pretty awesome. So, and shout out to my nephew Connor out there. I hope that didn't shock him too much. He just turned 18, or 17, sorry. But I know that I did stick him on a sheep when he was 5 with a hockey helmet on, just for the record.
Wow. Yeah, well, I don't see him show up here in the comments, and if he
this might get back to him somehow.
I'm sure it would be thank you that he would say.
Yeah.
Jay, what have you got coming this week?
This week, man, I'm actually I'm testing out some more equipment on the Grand River for work. Nice. But I see some fishing rods being rigged over here while I'm talking. So I'm guessing it's looking like Trevor's planning to do some long-nosed gar fishing, and I'm guessing some pan fishing. So it looks like we're going to be headed down to Long Point, probably trying to catch some gar. I probably won't be on the road this week much, so I'll get some evening time with the family. So maybe get the kayaks out, maybe not, but we'll see. And then, yeah, man, honestly, we're just going to keep catching fish and killing time till bass opener. That's our plan. There's around here, local to us, within a half hour, the pike fishing's pretty good this time of year. But I love the panfish, and there's still brown trout to catch. So we're just gonna chill out, man, and just keep right on fishing. And then once bass opener, it's just gonna get ugly around here. That's when things really get busy. So yeah, it's gonna be good. How about you, Scotty? Now who are you fishing with?
Well, I'm fishing with the illustrious and the one and only Moose.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it'll be a blast. I don't know how well we're gonna do, but it is gonna be funny to say the least.
You know what? I'm gonna give Moose credit. I've been following his exploits on the CSFL tour the last few seasons, and I know he's not bringing home a lot of hardware, but damn, I love that guy, man. He's caught some great fish, and him and his partner, but with Moose, it's videos of him at blast off and videos of him at weigh in, and he's just such a great dude. I know everyone knows that, but it's so cool you guys are going to fish together, buddy. So dude, enjoy that.
I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited, and I'm anxious as well, because I do have a bit of a reputation, and I don't want to let Moose down. That's my biggest thing. So needless to say, it's going to be a blast. I'm really looking.
Well, Scotty, as Trevor Barnucz would like to remind people once in a while, he likes to say to me once in a while, "Well, you're kind of a big deal." And I know as a 15-year-old that he's not saying that to be flattering. He likes to be. There's a good layer of sarcasm in that comment from a 15-year-old. So, Scotty, but you are a big deal, buddy. So you are Scotty Outdoors. You're Mr. Walleye Wednesday, man. So thanks, I get it.
Trevor. I really appreciate the pressure, bud. Now I know what it feels like when I do this to you.
Dude, you're gonna rock it. And you know what? That event itself, just to go participate in that's such a long-standing event in Ontario. Yeah. And I think just to be participating in that event, pretty cool, man. So enjoy it. And there's a lot of great people that participate. There's so many great anglers that fish in that event every year and like nothing else too. It is a great event. It's nostalgic. Dude, go enjoy yourself. It's going to be awesome.
I will. Right on, Jay. Well, listen, thanks again for your time, for doing this each and every Monday. And even though it is Victoria Day long weekend, you spent the day with the.
Dude, this was a great.
Appreciate it.
Dude, we got fishing in this weekend. I got barbecues. We saw fireworks last night, and I even got some CFN in. So it's full. Dude, the fishing well is full. I'm ready to get back to work tomorrow. Thanks, everybody, and talk to you next week.
Right on, bud. You take care of yourself, Jay. All the best, man. So there it is, another show in the books. Thanks so much for all of you jumping in as you have. Great to see you, even though it is the long weekend. We've got 38 of you on here right now. It means the world. It means the world to myself, to the panel, and all of you that show up. Love you all. You guys take care of yourself. Have a great week. It is the CFN Fish Off. It has officially started. If you haven't entered, please do. There's still lots of time to win prizes. Dave, it's time for you to take us away. Enjoy your week, everyone. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.